Hello and welcome back to McClaren Performance for an episode today about Cristiano Ronaldo. I just want to look at the criticism that he is taking at the moment and ask the question, should we look up to the people that are the best? Before I start this, I should probably say that these opinions on this situation are separate from what my dad would think. To be fair, I've not really actually talked to him about anything regarding Ronaldo and what's going on at the club with that sort of stuff. So I don't really have any insight to accidentally give away anyway. But in terms of my opinion on Ronaldo and the situation, blah, 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 that's all just kind of my own. I wasn't going to talk about it because obviously with the connections with the club that I guess I kind of technically do have. But I thought if I didn't have those connections, it's something I really want to talk about anyway because it's a really interesting situation and he's a really interesting person, obviously. So I just thought, why not just talk about it anyway? All this criticism started really from last season when he joined Man United. Obviously, they had a bad season, so everyone is open for criticism. But Ronaldo, in certain cases, was especially. Despite him scoring as many goals as he did, probably helping the team quite a lot, there were still things that he showed on the pitch that people didn't quite like. And last season, I guess there were minor things in terms of reaction at full time, walking off the pitch, showing bad body language in certain cases. I think that was a lot of the criticism. A big main one was that incident where he hit the kid's phone out of his hand when he was obviously angry after, I think, losing that game. So he didn't really show himself in the best of light. But despite all that, there still wasn't a lot of criticism towards Ronaldo. Obviously, he was still scoring goals and he was helping the team. And he's still Ronaldo, so he's still going to get that praise. He's still going to get that support that he always does, especially from Man United fans, and that's quite understandable for what he has been for the club previously. And my thoughts on that, his behaviour last season, was very much, it showed an example of the type of person he was, the driven type of person that he was, and such the high standards that he had for himself and for the team that he played for, that losing games, drawing games, whatever that was, he would show such a reaction to that, and you can't expect him, and I wouldn't really expect him to be such a calm figure, someone accepting of losing. You wouldn't expect that from someone who is winning so much in lots of different ways. And fast forward to the start of this season, and now we're in a situation where Ronaldo is wanting, or reportedly, supposedly, I think this is all speculation in many ways, wanting to leave the club. Supposedly, it is the case that Ronaldo wants to play Champions League football, and because of that, and because Manchester United aren't obviously in the Champions League and the Europa League at the moment, he wants to leave for a club that are in the Champions League. Obviously, he has stats and goals and things he wants to achieve within the Champions League, and so he wants to be a part of that. That's most likely his reasoning as to why he wants to leave. And that is what a lot of, say, Man United fans, but fans of Ronaldo in general, I think, are quite disappointed in. For me personally, I love Cristiano Ronaldo. Everyone loves Cristiano Ronaldo, the best player in the world, probably the best. There's always the argument as to who is the best, but I think he's probably up there as the best. So everybody loves him, of course. Everybody admires him. We always, and this is what leads me on to wanting to talk about this, we always admire the people that are the best at what they do. But because of that, we do hold them to a very high standard. And in terms of Cristiano Ronaldo, people expect the best, not just of him on the pitch, but also the best of him in his personality and his actions off it also. But just because he's the best player, should we expect him to really be the best person also? They're two different things, and the argument is, does one really make the other? Does being a good personality, being a good person, being a considerate, a kind person, lead to a player or a person just being the best at what they do? Because if you look at, say, Cristiano Ronaldo, he scores the most goals, he has all the records, if not all of them. I'm sure he has a few that he didn't have quite yet, but he is obviously at that peak in terms of, he's pushed himself so much to just be absolutely unbelievable at football. And to some extent, that comes with a sacrifice. And I think you see that sacrifice come out in his behaviour. You've seen it last season. You see it now as well. His fight, his drive, his desire to do whatever he needs to do to get the results for himself. Because I think there's always the romantic in us. You know, we look at Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, having his career rise at Manchester United, wanting him to then have that loyalty to that club again, to make sacrifices to his own career, to then help that club, to help that team, to help the players around him. And I think we all want to see that, because that would be an example of not just a person that is great at what they do, but also someone who is a great person, who is selfless in that sense also. And just because we all love Ronaldo so much, expect him to be covering all those areas of great, but he's not that guy. And I'm not really being that critical of Cristiano Ronaldo and his personality. It's not, I don't know the guy. Maybe I'll meet him soon. That'll be mad. But I don't know him, and you don't know what he's like as a person, only from these experiences. This is really speculation in a lot of ways, but it brings up, to me, just an interesting question. Is a great person a great player? So let's take Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, just in this case. He has had to be selfish in a lot of different ways to get performance out of himself. He's had to be selfish in his time, in his work with other people. He's had to do everything for himself. And that leads to the player that you see today. Honestly, one part of me, as a fan of Cristiano Ronaldo, purely as a fan of him, I look at that situation, it breaks my heart a bit to see someone, supposedly, reportedly, wanting to leave that club to go on to do other things by himself, to not help in the situation that he's in at the moment. But another part of me absolutely understands that insanity to want to be the best at what you do, and understands that you've got to do those things that aren't popular. And I think in many ways that is the reality of people that are the best at what they do. It's not all rainbows and sunshine and a yellow brick road all the way to the top. It's there's, I think, dark aspects to it also. Really, Ronaldo is a perfect case study in this sense, because he is very similar to other people that are the best at what they do. Say like Michael Jordan. And if you ever watched The Last Dance and I also read a lot of Phil Jackson's books, who had to manage Michael Jordan. It's really interesting to see many similarities between the two. Mainly in that Michael Jordan wasn't the perfect human being either. If you look at the interviews that people gave about him, they talk about how really demanding he was, not just of himself, but also other people, and how aggressive he was towards them also, how much he'd push them, how he'd almost bully them in a lot of different ways. And that's, in a way, in many ways, that was the reality of him and how he became the best and how he helped the team become the best it was as well. He was a large driving force within that, but that didn't necessarily make him a kind or a good person. Interestingly enough, the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan, before Phil Jackson came in as a coach, before he managed them properly, they really struggled to perform as a team in a way that is scarily similar to Manchester United at the moment. Of course, the Chicago Bulls would struggle to win the championship, but at the same time, Michael Jordan, as an individual, would perform at an extremely high level. He had all the stats, he'd get all the scores. But that was just him by himself. The team as a whole didn't really benefit from that. When Michael Jordan performed, when he got the ball, it's almost like everybody else would just stand and watch and admire in awe of this person as they do the thing that they're the best at. And it, in a way, almost interrupted the dynamic of the team. How they fixed that is they took the emphasis off Michael Jordan and created a way of playing that incorporated every player of the team. So they had the triangle offense, which is kind of complicated and I don't really understand it. But what it means is that every player is a part of the attack and the defense on the basketball court. And it's about the movement of the entire team. If one player moves, the other person knows and has to learn to be able to move into a different position for them, usually in a triangular shape. And Michael Jordan had to learn to pass the ball and not take the shot. He had to learn to incorporate himself within a team dynamic and actually work with people and get the most out of the team around him, not just perform for himself. In short, he really developed as a person more so than as a player, and you could look up to him more so as a person and his interactions with the team and his ability to work with people, and you could look at that in high regards just as much as you could his actual performance as an individual. Now, I don't know how much that relates to Manchester United at the moment and Ronaldo's situation within that, but I also think it's quite interesting, if we're going to speculate on the situation, that Cristiano Ronaldo really benefited from being part of a Real Madrid team, a team in which it is very individual based. It's not a great team environment, more so they're superstars in a team that all just perform incredibly high. And since then, he's had moves to Juventus and then obviously Manchester United now. And I think looking back at Juventus, there's obviously question marks as to how much he actually benefited that team and how much he helped them. To be fair, I don't know much about that situation, so I can't comment on it too much, just like I can't comment on too much on the situation at Manchester United at the moment. It's really kind of speculation, but it's also quite interesting to dissect how a player performs differently in different environments and how that may relate to their character and their ability to work with players. It goes back to what the kind of whole idea of the video is, the whole idea of the episode is. Do you need to be a great person to be a great performer at whatever you do? It's something we talk about within psychology, and something I was asked quite recently of what is your aim, what is your target when you're working with an individual? Do you push them so much to perform, to win? And do you do that at a sacrifice to their mental health, to their well-being, to their family life, personal life? Or do you do it with a balance between the two? Is it possible to do that? And I don't really know what the answer to that is. I'm not sure if you can make someone the best at what they do and do so with a great balance of their well-being. I think a lot of people that perform to the highest standard, let's say Cristiano Ronaldo, have to make kind of great sacrifices. You know, you make a lot of sacrifice with regards to the time that you have. You dedicate a lot of time to the thing that you want to achieve. You make a lot of sacrifices with regards to the relationships that you have, the friendships you might have if you spent the time with that, or relationship with your family as well. And really, ultimately, you're sacrificing being normal, because to be the best, and I see growing up with my dad, and he's become a really successful coach, really successful manager. It comes as a sacrifice to being a normal functioning person, and it's about having almost an insanity whereby you need to achieve these things, you need to do these things in your life. It's not a matter of want, really. If you just felt like, oh, it'd be nice, you never make those sacrifices, never dedicate those seconds of your life to doing that. You never put the work in to eventually do it at the end of the day. So part of me does feel like that. And you look at that in regards to Cristiano Ronaldo, has he made so many sacrifices to himself in those ways to become what he is now, to become a person that would choose to go to a different club, to play Champions League football, to better himself and his stats and his records? And he'd rather do that than help a team and have loyalty to something. You know, do you want to be that guy? Do you want to look up to that guy and admire him and say, I want to be like that? Because for me, I'd want to be the person who made the sacrifice, who took the time away from their own personal, what they wanted to achieve. And I'd want to help those around me and help in a situation that I'm a part of. But then I'm not the best at what I do. I'm not Cristiano Ronaldo. And then there's also a question of well-being. So is that prioritizing that aspect of yourself, that your mentality, your own personal health, your own personal well-being? Does that make you a happier person? Does that make for a more fulfilling, a more better life, but without those results, without being Cristiano Ronaldo, the best in the world? And is that really what we should be striving for and achieving? And are those the people that we should be looking up to? Those that are happy and fulfilled in, you know, whatever it is they're doing? Or does being mentally aware, being mentally well, having a good environment of people around you, does that then make you work hard and make you the best at what you do, and then finally bring those results at the end of the day? That Michael Jordan example is interesting because as he had more awareness of himself and his interaction with people, he became a better player for it, alongside being a better person. So it's really, there's no real answer to it. It's just quite an interesting debate. And as a psychologist, as I work with players, that's always my philosophy, is that to create a good culture and environment of people around, to create a supportive environment for people to be psychologically sound, to be psychologically safe, to be able to perform within the zone, within the flow state, because of how relaxed they are. But then there's examples of great sacrifice and instability, and from that comes results and success in the long term also. So there's definitely not one answer to all of this. it's just interesting, really. And it's interesting to look at it in relation to Cristiano Ronaldo, because can you be too critical of him? The behaviour that he is showing now, that is the behaviour that has led him to become the best at what he is. You could argue it's that behaviour that's led to that. So in him showing that, it's really just him being himself, and in some ways we kind of have to be accepting of that selfishness that he does have. That is just maybe the reality of the best. And if that is the case, I come back to that question, should we really be looking up to that? Or should we be looking up to people that are just fulfilled and content and work hard and bring up families and do all the right things? It's difficult to say. So what do you think? If you've got a comment, if you want to put anything below about your thoughts on Cristiano Ronaldo, on that situation, has he let you down? Or is he just showing exactly what you admire in him in the first place? Is that drive? Is that desire to do things? Is it just unfortunate that Manchester United isn't a part of that side that he has going forward? Other than that, I don't know if he's staying or if he's going. Don't ask me. I don't know. I know people want to ask. I can see it sometimes, and I don't have a clue. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Sometimes I keep a bit of a distance talking to my dad about it, because I would like to just talk in episodes like this about Manchester United, and if I had that bit of inside information, it'd be a bit awkward and I wouldn't be able to talk about it. So I kind of try and just make sure I don't know too much, and then I can have my own insight on this channel about it. Saying that though, the season is about to start, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to the first game against Brighton. So what I think I'll do on Friday is like a little preview episode, talk about the game maybe, and talk about what I think of the game, blah, blah, blah. I think my dad's done a video recently talking about just everything Manchester United, and it'd be interesting to look at his comments and what he says and how it relates to a lot of what we talk about on the podcast and what we talk about here anyway. And then FPL will start then as well, so I can talk a bit about my team. I kind of want to give my team away until after the deadline, so then people don't, well, nobody's going to copy it anyway, but you know what I mean. So Friday, hopefully just a good kind of fun episode, nothing too serious and no heavy questions like we've had today. People are also saying about doing match day vlogs. I could not imagine myself doing that. It's awkward enough doing this in my room, talking to a camera by myself. It's another thing doing that with people around me, where I've got like a GoPro or whatever and I'm hanging it around. I can't see myself doing that. But I do want to talk about the game. I mean, I'm in a pretty strange situation at the moment where I'm related a lot to what's going on at Manchester United and the season that's happening, so I'm gonna have to talk about it in some way. I'm not gonna do a vlog though. I couldn't do it. Other than that, yeah, I've got a picture. I'm getting the background sorted. I'm thinking I could put stuff up there and do that, but that's the one I've got at the moment, and we'll see. I haven't planned it too much. And yeah, thank you for watching and listening as always, and I will see you on Friday.